Welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And today, it's going to be a double upload day as we are now entering the conclusions of Kill la Kill, The Web of Life, What If Spider-Gwen Was in Kill la Kill. Now, as we're approaching the end of this series, as always, I want to say thank you to everyone who's been showing their support from the very beginning. I have to say, to do a series like Kill la Kill was definitely a little daunting at the start, mainly because I had no idea if I could even pull something like this off. But the turnout, the support for this series, it's truly been amazing. And I've had a lot of fun writing this thing, so to see it come to an end now, knowing that it's not going to continue on after this, I'm going to give it my best to make sure that this is a series that will be remembered. Anyway, where we last left off, we find our spider heroes dealing with a bit of betrayal, as Gwen has now returned along with a Peter Parker who has now been totally revived thanks to Ryugo and the power of life fibers. But was Gwen's turn so easy, or was it something more forced from within? And can she be turned back, but at what cost? Anyway, to find out what happened, stay tuned as we now continue today's story. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. On top of the battleship Naked Soul, the fight would begin to rage. Nue, along with now turned Gwen Stacy and a revived Peter Parker, battled against Ryuko, Mako, Hobi, Satsuki, and the members of the Elite Five, along with the other armed forces of Nudist Beach. Of course, Satsuki and Ryuko would be trying to hold off Gwen, trying to get her to come to her senses, while also dealing with Nue. At which point, both Ryuko along with Senketsu would have to turn and focus their attention. The two girls entering into a rematch of sorts as they went scissor blade for scissor blade. In the meantime, Hobi along with Mako and members of the Elite Five battled against the revived Peter Parker, now only being classified as Spider-Man. This is the classic Spider-Man, or if you're being more specific, this is the akin to a normal Spider-Man of sorts, only this time his body is completely made out of life fibers and he is a clone of the original Peter Parker of this world who died. This Spider-Man was surprisingly skilled in hand-to-hand combat, his strength being comparable to any of them, and if not, far exceeding it. Of course, for Satsuki, it wasn't hard to figure out what her mother had done. To clone a dead friend, to use it as leverage to get someone to her side. This was something her mother would do, although to think that she was capable of doing it to this fine of a degree. Senketsu would also inform them that June kits had been sewn to Gwen's body, almost as if Gwen had no control over herself anymore. Matt Murdock, aka the Daredevil, along with Elektra and members of the Hand, would also assist in the fight, with Daredevil even giving up his own Kamui, Prime Kets, to Satsuki. Of course, Satsuki wasn't surprised. After all, the only reason why Prime Kets didn't work is because it was not made to be used by Matt Murdock in the first place. To take you all the way back to the events that happened when Prime Kets, a prototype Kamui that had been stolen from Hanoinjin Academy years ago, that thievery was not done by chance. No. Satsuki had always been working on her plan to take down her mother. Of course, it had to come in stages. It couldn't happen all at once. In order for it to work, Satsuki needed to get powerful allies on her side. With her mother and her company slowly gaining control all over the world, finding allies would be a lot tougher than one might expect. However, when she met Matt Murdock, along with meeting the Hand, she realized that these were people whom she could potentially rely on. However, Matt had his own difficulties at the time, that being in the form of Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. So, a plan was put into motion. A plan to assist in getting revenge and justice. The whole point of the Kamui heist was ultimately a setup. It was a setup to out Wilson Fisk and to put him behind bars. But it was also to make sure that the prototype Kamui was in the hands of someone that Satsuki trusted. And just to make sure that everything went smooth, seeing as how when Matt left the organization, he'd be leaving behind Uzu as well. He also made sure that he was on Satsuki's radar, so that Satsuki could recruit him and bring him to the Elite Five when he attended Honojin Academy. All those years, everything had been put into motion, all for this one moment. As Satsuki would take Prime Kets into herself, she would find her strength increasing tenfold as she would continue to battle against Gwen. But why had Gwen turned? Did she just accept willingly? Did she just accept betraying her friends? Well, the answer wasn't so simple. You see, before Gwen could even have been given a choice in answering, Junkets had already synced with her. If anything, it only lessened her guard, making her more susceptible and more easier to accept Ryugo's offer. The offer to have her friend back, to have her father back. And all it would come at a cost. The cost of who, in effect, were nothing more but strangers to her. Of course, Satsuki knew this better than anyone as she battled against Gwen, the two Spider-Women coming head-to-head and trading blows. Satsuki would implore for Gwen to snap out of it and to come to her senses, recognizing that whatever her mother had to offer was only temporary, that this wasn't the real Peter Parker, nor was the father that she thought she had gained was really her father. They were nothing more but cheap imitations made out of life fiber. They weren't real. Of course, Gwen obviously knew this, but even under her mask, even when fighting for control, the Kamui that was now sewn into her very being would not allow for her to simply leave or change her mind. No, she was stuck being the way that she was, and now the only way for all of this to end was for either them to die or to cut her down. Meanwhile, Nue battled against Ryuko. Ryuko powered by Sinkets, and the two, having learnt from their last encounter with Nue, would now have an even more enraged spirit that burned within them. For what Nue, for what Ryugo, for what they had done to Gwen, for putting her through something like this. However, Nue would simply laugh, stating that humans were so fragile that they'd fall to pieces the moment they thought they could bring a dead loved one back to life, when ultimately none of it truly mattered. Nue would continue to mock Ryuko, talking about how Gwen was completely susceptible to Junkets. Her will, her spirit, her hope of fighting back, all of it faded away the moment she saw her dead friend and her dead daddy. It seemed as though the girl wasn't as tough as she thought she was. Of course, Hobie was getting sick and tired of hearing of Nue going on and on and on as he battled against Peter Parker. So, you're the person Gwen tried to replace me with, huh? Can't say I see much. Oh, well, what can I say? Sometimes my charm is so blinding it's hard for anyone to see. Is that so? Well, here, how about I dim your lights a bit? Peter would deliver a right hook to Hobie's face. However, Hobie would deliver a kick to the lower gut of Peter before grabbing him by the sides of his head, rearing his head back and charging his life fibers into the spikes on his mask. Well, while we're dimming lights, how about I dim your vision some? There would be a crack as their two heads would collide. Hobie had become a lot more accustomed to using his life fibers, to seeing just how far he could push his abilities. Of course, there was the sound wave attack he had from using his guitar, but he also figured you could make sound waves when you crack two skulls together. Hobie had sound-like waves stored up inside of his horns, the spikes that lined the top of his mask, and thus, every time he gave a headbutt, not only did those spikes drive into the skull of his opponent, but also some heavy shock waves as well, down to the nerve system. There was a first hit, then a second, then a third, then a fourth, and then a fifth. This attack, as Hobie now called it, were the drums of destruction. A never-ending beat of violence. Another headbutt, and another headbutt. As they kept cracking their skulls together over and over again, causing Peter to actually stagger back some. You don't look so well, my friend. Gotta say, not too bad. But I got a beat for you. Peter would deliver a punch to Hobie's side, and Hobie could feel a couple of ribs had gotten cracked. You like that one? Well, here, try the encore. Before he had a chance to strike, though, he would find his arm being severed from his body. Peter looking down and not really being too concerned, since his whole body was made out of life fibers, he could just re-stitch himself back together. However, before he had a chance to do so, the Elite Five would make their move, as they started to bombard him with each one of their signature attacks. The Elite Five not giving him a chance to rest, and with Hobie joining along. 6-on-1. Can't say those are good odds in any situation. Meanwhile, Satsuki would continue to try to get through to Gwen, to try to break her free of Junkets. Of course, Gwen wanted to set herself free, to let herself go, but it wasn't that easy, because she knew what would come with it. Satsuki would remove Gwen's mask, along with her own, looking her dead in the eye. You have to break yourself free, Stacy. You can no longer remain under Mother's control. If you do, you will lose everything. I know that. Then why? Why won't you fight back? If you're worried about losing them, they are not lost. The boy whom you were friends with, the father whom you loved and looked up to, they still live inside of you. Their spirit, it's what's led you down this path. It's what let you get as strong as you were. If you continue the way you are now, if you let them use you, then you spit on their memories. Of course, Gwen knew this better than anything. As she continued fighting for control, Mako would assist in trying to pull her free from Junkets, as Satsuki did the same. Of course, Nue could see what was happening, and she didn't like the feeling of this. If Gwen was able to break free, then things could get a little troublesome. and she had her orders. If she couldn't bring anything back, then to kill everything. After being able to evade Ryuko's strike, she would then head straight towards Gwen. She could just take Junketsu herself, and then she could just be done with everyone and everything. Nue smiled as she went charging towards Gwen. They were already holding her down in perfectly good position. All she had to do was run her scissor blade through her back, pierce her right in the heart, and it would be over. Ryuko would chase behind her, trying to stop her in time. She shot webbing at Nue's feet to try to hold her back, but she could barely manage to slow her down. Everything started to move almost in slow motion. The fighting, the carnage, the chaos, everything around them. Peter looked up and saw what was about to happen, seeing himself surrounded by the Elite Five and Hobie as they tried to destroy him. For some inexplicable reason, he was managing to push them all aside as he went racing. At the last moment, he pushed Gwen, Satsuki, and Mako out of the way. Gwen watching on in horror as from behind Peter's back, the scissor blade had pierced him in the chest. Well, that's odd. No. Hey, Gwen. This really sucks. Peter would end up falling as Gwen would push the others away, holding him in her arms. No, not again. Not again. Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. It's okay. No, it's not okay. I promise. I know I'm not real, okay? I might have his memories, but I'm not him. I know I'm not. And it's strange. Despite being programmed to destroy these people, oddly enough, I think maybe in the end, there was enough of him that cared about you. I didn't want to let you die. But it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be okay, Gwen. You have friends, people who love and care about you. And besides, as long as you live, I'll always be a part of you. With that, the cloned Peter Parker had now been killed. With one final push, Mako and Satsuki would both respectively pull Gwen free from Junketsu. Of course, Nue was surprised by this. Oh, darn. She managed to break free. Oh well, looks like it's time for me to get out of here. And just where do you think you're going, bitch? Huh? Before Nue even had a chance to run, Ryuko used her scissor blade to cut off her arm. The arm that held the purple side of the scissor blade. Gwen would take the blade also and cut off the other arm. With Nue not having either of her arms, she had no way of moving, no chance of escaping. The horrors of what had happened was now finally starting to set in upon her. Nue was at their mercy. Huh? Wait. This isn't supposed to happen. Nue would now be surrounded by Gwen, Ryuko, Satsuki, Mako, who was now in the Terminator mode of the mech spider suit, the Elite Five, Matt Murdock, Elektra, along with the army of the Hand and Nudist Beach. "It's over, Nue," Satsuki said, drawing her blade ready to cut her down. However, before she had a chance to, a miracle, if you will. The secretary that served Ryugo, the one known as Rei Hohamaru, would move in using the covers, rescuing Nue from the members of Nudist Beach in the Hand, pulling them away to safety. The armies would now continue their advantage fighting against the covers, as Nue and Rei would now make their escape. Satsuki would explain that the final plan was to transmit the primordial life fiber signal across the world, absorbing all humans into a large mass of a life fiber cocoon, called the Starseed Cocoon Sphere. It was said to be able to cover the whole planet. With everyone now standing together, and everyone now having come to their senses, Ikuro, along with Sumugu, would tell them where the signal was likely to emit from where Hojin Academy rested. "It looks like this is going to be where the final stand will take place," Sumugu would say. "At the school. That's where it's all gonna end," Hobie would remark. "In all likelihood. If we want to stop Mother, it has to be here." "Well then," Ryuko would say, "what are we waiting for?" Ryuko, Gwen, Satsuki, Hobie, and Mako all stood together. It ends now. This concludes Kill la Kill: The Web of Life. What if Spider-Gwen was in Kill la Kill Part 9? Stay tuned this afternoon as we will be doing Part 10 and the series finale for Kill la Kill: The Web of Life. What if Spider-Gwen was in Kill la Kill Part 10, the series finale. And stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue Imminence in Shadow, The Shadow's Web. What if Sid Kagano was Spider-Man, Season 1, Part 2. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.